I'm with Baz Luhrmann in this apartment that he's rented in New York for when he was casting for Romeo and Juliet. And I was, reading for Balthazar, and he's chasing me around this hotel room with a camera as I'm screaming Shakespeare, and sitting with Kevin Kline for Life as a House, and like literally having him embrace me as I sob. Like, these are moments that, like, I didn't get those jobs, but I'm so grateful for those moments because they're beautiful. Business was not involved in that. It was just those moments. And so as an actor, I got my fix.
Welcome to You're Not Gonna Make It. My name is Nico. I'm a filmmaker from Argentina based in LA. You're Not Gonna Make It is a podcast about surviving or careers, expectations, where I sit down with successful people to debunk their seemingly perfect professional lives and celebrate the low points of their careers in a quest to find out what making it really means for them and for me. And today's guest has a very special place in my heart. His name is Sam Huntington. He's absolutely incredible. Sam and I became friends while shooting my first feature, Finding Sofia. And after a decade living in Los Angeles, I can honestly say that he's one of the kindest souls I ever met here. And I wanted to mention his kindness before I dive into his background, because he managed to stay a good person throughout his enormous success. Sam is legendary. He started as a kid in the industry. He had his breakout role opposite to Tim Allen in Jungle to Jungle, a Disney movie he played when he was 13 years old. Played Jimmy Olsen in Superman Returns. Starred as Josh Levinson in a sci-fi series Being Human. And that's just to name a few of his endless list of credits. I really encourage you to go check his work. It's amazing. You know, when I met Sam, I knew nothing about the industry. And so it was a very long shot. And I recorded this video for him, basically begging him to be in my movie. And for some reason, he agreed to join me in a swamp at the outskirts of Buenos Aires, at the end of the fucking world in Argentina. And we did this movie together on a shoestring budget. He showed me the kind of kindness and professionalism as if I was paying millions of dollars. You know, he really gave me a gift with his work, and we became instant friends out of that collaboration. So I hope you enjoy it. Here is my conversation with Sam Huntington. Hello. Hi, Sammy.
Hey, buddy.
How's
it going? I'm so good.
You.
I miss you every time you're not in my field of vision. But here you are.
I am here and you're here. And I just said beautiful things that I haven't recorded yet in time, but this is the magic of editing. Yeah. I just said, on the perception of the audience, I just said beautiful things about you.
Oh, man.
And your
I'm
career.
so glad I was not present for that. I can't take that kind of positivity about myself.
You're not good. You're not good with praise. What you deal with that all your life. Some people like nod when there's somebody saying something nice about their work or them. Do you nod? Do you just think about something else? Do you dissociate from your body?
It's always, in all seriousness, like anytime someone appreciates something that you do creatively, it's a great, warm, fuzzy feeling. So I also kind of learned early on that just saying thank you means a lot to people. So thank you, making eye contact and really actually like listening to, and I mean, I don't know. I think I did years and years of these conventions, these comic book conventions. I spent
the cons. Yeah.
So I would go to these things and sit at a table and meet these people, and they were all so lovely and so effusive and excited to be where they were. And so it's something that I appreciate, because, the other thing is when you're working in film and television, you don't get to connect with your audience. You know what I mean? It's
directly.
Unlike, exactly. It's unlike theater where, you literally have that kind of call and response. But, so it's nice when people are like, hey, I see you. I saw this. You did this, and then I saw this. So it's the point, right? It's the whole point. You want people to enjoy what you do. At least I do.
The cons are maybe the attendees are kind of like one of the most devoted audiences to the things they love. They're like, their identity almost intertwines with their objects of cult, like the things that they love in culture, right? Like
So
they're almost
often.
part of it. They're in their minds, they're almost part of it. That kind of like hardcore fandom is so interesting to me because it's just like merge fact with fiction in a way, right? Like their lives are completely intertwined to the things they love.
Absolutely. And if you're connected to that thing, then they are so jazzed to meet you and to talk to you about it. And yeah, it's really cool. And the other thing about the cons is everybody chose to go there, right? It's not the fucking DMV. You know what I mean? Like where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so everyone is excited to be there. So it's just
It's a bit of a party.
overwhelmingly positive. The only issue is after like a long weekend of doing it and meeting people and giving everyone their fair time, it's exhausting because I am the kind of person that I need to go to their level of excitement and enthusiasm and want to match that. So like I am.
Yeah, I've seen you doing that, and I think that you're of the few people that really connects with everybody. Like I've seen you connect with like cab drivers in a ride, and I'm
I
like,
love it.
oh, that kind of energy has to be exhausting because you really are empathic and you're connecting with everybody around you, everybody that is nice, I guess, and wants to connect with you. But like, you
Yeah.
give it all,
Well, it's
which is
also
very
like
nice. I think it's part of your personality.
yeah, I don't know where I get it from. I do think though it is like a cheat code a little bit, right? Where it's like in
Mhm.
life, like because generally speaking, I think we all deal with insecurity on different levels. But for me, it's like, well, if I'm nice and I take an interest in this person, and then they're an asshole, then something's going on with them, and I can tick that one. You know what I mean? Then okay,
Yeah, they
then
won't
like
put it. It won't be an excuse. Yeah.
yeah, then it's like, okay, you're having a bad day or you're, unhappy for some reason. I've done
Yeah,
my
but
part. I've just been nice.
it gotta be draining, I bet. I mean, I mean, being an actor
Yeah.
has to be. If a director has to go through a lot of that, I can't believe like having to be
You know,
there as an actor.
it's interesting. In the moment, it like fuels you, right? In the
Yeah.
moment, that energy just kind of it carries you, and then it doesn't hit until later when you get home and you are able to decompress, and then you're like, holy shit, your body just deflates. But I think a lot of people are like that. I feel like a lot of people, um, actors, non-actors, people are just feel like they need to have that energy and that enthusiasm. I don't know. I think
I
enthusiasm
was.
is infectious, and I really like being enthusiastic about whether it's a sandwich that's delicious or a human being.
Yeah, I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Hmm.
Or project.
I agree. I feel like I'm more fun around fun people, and it's like I'm so not fun when I'm somebody else is like disengaged. I'm like I recoil. I think.
Yeah.
Um, I was I was going through your career again, which I know, but I had the time to dive in, and I mean, this is the most fun for me to prepare for an episode is to go back and try to revisit whatever try to follow the steps of everybody. And yours is fascinating because you've been doing this since you were a kid, like
Yeah.
and I went through. I had been in the Wikipedia article, and that in my mind starts, and we're going to touch upon this later. Jungle to Jungle, like Jungle to Jungle, is the breakout success that puts you on the screen, right? But then you have a credit before that I didn't know existed. That is this Microsoft Windows 95 video guide, and there are so many fascinating things about it. Some that has to do with you, that the one I'm most interested at, but there are other things too. First, that this is probably something of a VHS tape. I
Yeah, that's
imagine
exactly
that
what it
it
is.
gets to your mail and you
Yeah.
put it on, and it's basically a tutorial on how to use Windows, but it lasts for 56 minutes.
It's so long. It's so long. I think it came with
It came
the
with the
program.
thing.
Yeah.
Because
So
you
you got
bought this Windows 95. It would come in a
like a
box, and you
floppy
would open this
disk and
box, and one of the
yeah.
goodies would be this tape, which is a piece
Uh-huh.
of entertainment. And so it's like a movie,
Yeah.
and it's written in comedy. It's like it's a comedy,
Uh-huh.
and intertwined with like hardcore tutorials. Like this is the folder, this is storage settings, and then on top of that, Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston
Yeah.
are the leads on this thing, which they probably got a lot of money because like just to put it in context, this is 1995.
Uh-huh.
This is a year later after Friends premiered.
Uh-huh.
They're at the peak of their fame. You can see them doing the characters of Friends. Like the dynamic is like straight out of that, you know?
Yep.
Like this is copyright infringement because like you could as well say like this is like a Friends kind of like licensed product because it's just they're doing the characters. And they're very funny because they're so cool. They're gorgeous and cool and funny. And in the midst of it all, I think in the middle point of this beautiful fictional piece, you stroll along with a skateboard and you have a full-fledged character that is called Johnny Joystick or something.
Joystick Johnny. I mean,
Joystick Johnny.
Yeah.
Of course, this is my Spanish translation.
No, you're great.
And you're so confident. This kid comes radiating energy, and then you're basically acting alongside these two people that for you I have so many questions because they were like at the peak of pop cultural impact, and you are having so much fun with that. And it's like so amazing to me. So I want to ask you, like, when did you get the job and when did you find out that they were part of it?
Let me think about this. So that was 95, so that would have been 94. So that probably was, that was before Jungle to Jungle, right? Well, first of all, I was I was a 13-year-old little guy.
Skater. Did you skate?
Skateboarder. I didn't. My friends did. I mean, I tried, but I was never.
Okay, but you weren't like you weren't cast forward that scale.
No, I mean, I can skate. I snowboard. I do the board sports a little bit. I wakeboard and snowboard. But no, it wasn't. I wasn't for my skateboarding skills. No, I don't think anyway. That would be a pretty fucking low bar for them to. No, but I was a 13-year-old kid. I was obsessed with Friends. I was obsessed. It was in its second season, I think, when I got the job. And we would watch. I was from New Hampshire, so I'm from a small little town. I grew up in theater, doing theater. My mom was an acting coach and had a children's theater company actually in New Hampshire. Brilliant, brilliant woman. And so I was obsessed. Matthew Perry was like my hero, and Jennifer Aniston was legitimately one of my very first celebrity crushes. If not, like I was in love with her.
Of course,
like I was. So, and I was like peak age for that kind of crush. You know what I mean? Like prime. And so I was extremely nervous and took a wild swing with the character.
So you cast it. So you were told that they were involved in the project before you did the casting?
Yeah. I knew.
Oh, wow.
I think when I got the appointment sheet, I knew that they were attached. Yeah. So it was wild, man. I'll never forget it as long as I live. It's this weird little thing that I think we shot over like a week. Like it was a tiny little, fraction of my life, but I have like real vivid memories of shooting it and being there. And it's this weird thing. And honestly, what's also kind of strange is it keeps cropping back up. Like people will be like, it's the 20-year anniversary of Windows 95, which was like this big launch. You know that fun? I think the video of Bill Gates and all the wieners, the Microsoft wieners, on stage announcing and they're dancing and like one dude just so sweaty, he looked like he just jumped in a lake.
Yeah.
That was Windows 95. Like that was it. Yeah. And so it was like this big launch for Microsoft.
Of course.
Yeah. And so it's weird. Every several years people will be like, oh yeah, it's the
Do you remember I almost want to get the picture of how it is to be there and see them for the first time. Like you saw them on set. Did they introduce them to you first, or how that? Do you remember that at all?
I apologize because this is 30 years ago, just about. So
and also a very intense emotional experience. So probably you don't like that. Like flew by.
I do. I remember Matthew Perry. Rest in peace. What beautiful. He was such a wonderful guy.
So sad.
But I remember him wanting to play. I had like a Sega Game Gear and he was like wanting to try it. He was like, do you have any hockey games? He was obsessed with hockey. And then I remember Jennifer Aniston was just this sweet. She was just so sweet.
They were nice.
they were just so nice and welcoming. And I think that they like appreciated and respected that I took such a giant swing with the character and really
You're
like
so funny in
fully
it.
committed. I don't know if I'm funny. I mean, I think that
You are. No, but
I was really
you
young.
don't look scared. Like for like you feel like you look so confident and you do this character and you have like such rapport with her, especially I think you're playing against each other this pinball game.
Yeah, because that was the section that I was in. They were talking about like the games that came with Windows 95.
Yeah.
So like I come in as like this
gamer kid.
ridiculous gamer kid, which
with this mirror in
ironically
your
I
face.
was not. I never really played video games, but yeah, with like this and I had been doing theater for years at that point.
Okay.
And working with like really talented people out of New York in this wonderful little summer stock theater that I grew up performing at. And so I had, I was not fully inexperienced as far as like working with other actors. You know what I mean? I was able to relax into it at a certain point. And honestly, it was fun. It was so ridiculous that the nerves abated pretty quickly.
But you were already, you were trained, and I can tell that you weren't like, deer in the headlights at all. It was just
so precocious.
So crazy. And then that leads to Jungle, which is also like, this is a huge thing. I mean, because you are maybe 14 at that time, right? And this is a Disney movie, so it's like a big thing. It's like a big budget too.
Yeah.
And again, you're opposite to Tim Allen, who's at the peak of his career too. I think maybe what Tim Allen has done after that has been it's been recognized for Toy Story, right? Like he's Buzz Lightyear, and that's his big thing after Jungle.
Yeah. He had done.
But when he did that, he was at I bet it was also kind of like extremely recognized. It's a big movie.
Huge, yeah. And he was at the time, he was like the biggest star. Like he was he had done the first Santa Claus, and then he obviously was knee deep in Home Improvement, which was a huge hit, like a huge hit, and was also appointment television for my family and I, just like Friends was. Like we used to watch Home Improvement. My parents like loved it. My dad is a cabinet maker, and like so he was like super into the Tim the Tool Man character, and so it was. I mean, it was the process of getting that job was really, really intense.
Okay, because that wasn't like straightforward. You probably cast it against a lot of people.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it was it was nationwide. They were looking for kids, and I just it was like any of these things that I've been fortunate enough, these larger things that I've been fortunate enough to work on over the years. It's a slow, methodical process. It's a step-by-step thing. You get past it's just a series of gatekeepers, right? So you just get past the first boss, and then you have to, you know what I mean? Like it's just that kind of thing until you beat the game, and now then
you start working. That's the craziest thing is that you go through all that, and then when you're exhausted from actually getting the thing, I bet you're like, all right, well now you have to prove that this wasn't a mistake.
For real. And I think there's something to be said about my youth. You know what I mean? I was so young.
Yeah.
And so I had this, kind of boundless energy and patience. And I was just, I didn't know anything. I was super green. So like I was able to just completely immerse myself in it. And
I want to ask you, because I feel like this is the genesis of also dealing with the possibility of not getting it, right? Like, have you by then, have you not got other roles that frustrated you, or you were just like in a winning streak and you never saw that? That's kind of like that. What comes with the frustration of like putting so much work and effort into something and not getting it, which is a constant in any artist's career. But I feel like for a kid has to be interesting and different. I don't know.
When I was a kid, it wasn't a job, right? It was something. It was something, and I'm still wildly passionate about it, and that hasn't changed. But now I need to work. You know what I mean? I need to pay bill. I have a family and live in Los Angeles, and it's wildly expensive. I need to work, right? And really, it was like once I kind of got out on my own when I was 18, 19 years old, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is fun, and I love doing this, and I want to be successful, but I also kind of need to be successful. There's no security blanket, I'm not sleeping in my parents' house. And so when I was a kid, it was different. Like the disappointment was still there if I didn't get a gig, but it wasn't as it
The stakes
wasn't as
weren't as
bitter.
high, probably.
Yeah,
Interesting.
stakes weren't as high. Yeah.
Because as kids, I think we haven't developed yet this ability for managing frustration that as adults you have to either do or not do at your own peril. But
Yeah.
Do you think that is there something you come back to the feeling of like that lightheartedness that you had? Because I feel like that could be poisonous for creative process, just to start feeling that suddenly now this is beyond the excitement of doing it is, oh, I need to do it, but this is added layer of financial pressure to it that sometimes kills the vibes. No?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you want it to be in its perfect form, right? It is this beautiful creative collaboration with beautiful creative collaborative people, right? But the thing that is, kind of an unfortunate truth is that it is a business and all that kind of means. And so as much as you want to make art, you still need to play a certain game to achieve success. And that's something that's always, once again, it's an unfortunate truth, but it's always felt a little icky. You know what I mean? I just don't personally love that side of it. But like going back to, the roles that I didn't get, I haven't gotten, those define, it's really strange because those are that's the story of my career. That really is like the things that I didn't get as much as the things that I did. I feel like you
talk about some of the famous things, because I bet there are some things that we don't get in our life, and then when they happen to other people, you go like, oh, I didn't think that was for me, or I didn't like it. And then sometimes you go like, fuck, I wanted that and it looks so great.
The Lord of the Rings was the first one where I definitely kicked myself. Like I was a teenager, I think I was 17, and they were casting Lord of the Rings, and I passed on the audition. I was just like, I don't want to move to New Zealand for 3 years. I was like, not that I would have gotten that job. So that's a bit of a different story, but that is one where I was like,
what would you be doing? Frodo.
What's that?
Would you be Frodo?
It was for Frodo. Yeah.
Elijah
I would
Wood's
never have gotten it because Elijah Wood's he was so perfect. You know what I mean? He looked so
weird.
He looked so fucking Middle Earth already. And he's, by the way, I worked with him years later, and he's like the coolest guy ever.
He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
I met him too.
Super nice guy. Very cool vibe. I like a lot. But yeah, then there were other things where like I would have these just incredible meetings, like the meetings that I've taken, the rooms that I've been in, and the closeness of these jobs is still so right there in my mind, but then I'm also like, well, I was in Penny Marshall's apartment in New York when I was like 15 years old with her and Drew Barrymore, and they were doing what was that movie called? See, this is one where it was like, oh God, what was that? The Boys. Oh God, I forget what it was called, but it was this incredible thing, and we were all weeping, and I was in her apartment for hours, and then I'm with Baz Luhrmann in this apartment that he's rented in New York for when he was casting for Romeo and Juliet, and I was, reading for Balthazar, and he's chasing me around this hotel room with a camera as I'm screaming Shakespeare, and sitting with Kevin Kline for Life as a House, and like literally having him embrace me as I sob. Like these are moments that like I didn't get those jobs, but I'm so grateful for those moments, like because they're beautiful. And I achieved at a certain point, they stripped the business. The business was not involved in that. It was just those moments. And so as an actor, I got my fix. You know what I mean?
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really, and so those are all old examples.
Do you think that, because I'm interested, do you think those are interactions that are lost in landscape today of doing
Yeah.
auditions
Oh
through
my
Zoom,
gosh.
and it feels like it's so cold. It feels colder and less approachable, and then less of an experience for an actor, because like what you're describing sounds like probably better than the movie sometimes, right? Like that experience of connecting in a casting with Baz Luhrmann, and that feels like such a rich experience. It's analog to getting the movie. Like that's something you're gonna carry that stays with you, I bet.
Right, right. Oh, absolutely, man. And yes, you're absolutely right. The landscape has changed so much. I do think that um, we make these tapes now and you send them into the void, and most of the time you don't hear anything, which is just a unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But then as the process progresses now, I think you get into the room and you're able to maybe have those moments. It hasn't happened since the strike, for me. Um, but uh, but yeah, I feel like it is kind of limiting for everyone in
Yeah.
the casting directors, the directors, the writers, the actors, everyone across the board. I feel like not being able to sit in a room and collaborate with someone who's giving you direction in that moment is so prohibitive, so such a shame. And I'm wondering if we'll ever get back to the system of in-person auditions. I don't know. I mean, I haven't even heard word of it. I know that they're happening very sporadically now. Um, but it's the landscape is so different now. So much
We're
harder.
taping this in end of April 24,
Yeah.
and after all the strikes, so Yahtzee is still like out there
Right.
lingering. But it feels like a very. I mean, I'm a newcomer. I only been in LA for 10 years, and I've been doing all sort of things in addition to film. But it looks to me that the landscape has changed a lot. Like the industry is in a moment of influx. Do you feel that? I mean, in your whole in the experience of like this all these years, do you feel that something like this happened before, where there were like changes, seismic changes like this, or this is very new?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would say it's been exponential, right? Like I feel like, been at this for a really long, most of my life now. And I feel like, you would see these changes start to happen incrementally. And then in the last decade or so, just accelerate. And, we were talking about the kind of the business aspect of it. I think a lot of it comes down to that, right? I think a lot of it is like, studios no longer have to pay for casting offices, and they're able to see a million guys and gals and people for these roles. And so for them, it's like, oh, well, it's cheaper and we get to see more people. This is the new paradigm, right? Like this is the way we're going to do it now. And so, it's been the most significant change going since COVID, not going into the room, not driving around Los Angeles auditioning, which was like 90% of my job. That change is so monumental. I mean, it really does completely change the description of my job. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing else before. Oops. Nothing else. Yeah, I know, right? Nothing else before that. Oh shit. Has been that much of a shift. I don't think.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's a change from a network of humans connected, like a community, right? Of
Right.
word of mouth and opportunity, and into an economy of scale where, with the abundance of tapes that they get to see, that has to come at a cost of attention as well, and how much care they give to those, right? So in a way,
1,000%.
like
It could be, and in all seriousness, like I totally respect the casting community and what they do. I think it's brilliant, and I think that I have such wonderful relationships with these casting directors, and I feel very, very lucky. A lot of that just comes from time doing it, right? But for them too, I mean, it's one of those things where if I'm in a room with someone, they are forced to connect with me one way or another. They are forced to watch my performance and see nuance and take in every beat and react in real time to what I'm doing. Oftentimes,
and give you adjustments,
and
right?
give you adjustments,
that start
which,
to create a rapport and see how you react to the adjustments, which is to me one of the biggest, most important things you are looking for in an actor, is to see, are they listening to each other? Are they reacting? Is the every take different because of input that has been given, right?
Yeah. And honestly, it wouldn't even be their fault, but if they're watching tapes and their phone chimes, there goes their attention. Even if it's just for 2 seconds, they could miss one little beat that you worked so hard to sharpen and to, bring into focus, and one little piece of nuance that you were really proud of, that that you don't know. And so it's definitely frustrating, and it's I've been very lucky to have been able to work pretty consistently for like my whole life. But this last 5 years has been transformative in a way that I could never have predicted. I don't think anybody could have, and is making it extremely hard to do it. And I'm not complaining. Once again, I've been very lucky, but it is a bit of a kind of focus shift, because the job that I fell in love with doesn't really exist in the same way that it did. So it's a little weird, but I think it's a good moment in my life anyway to kind of course correct a little bit and refocus on things that I love to do, that are also in the same realm, and writing and directing and collaborating with people, and so that, I feel like sometimes your hand is forced to make changes in your life, and sometimes that's the most beautiful thing, because it can open yourself up to these new experiences, new people, and that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting to me, because I feel that over all these years you have developed tools to deal with those moments of uncertainty, or like even periods of your time where you were not that busy. I bet you had ups and downs, and I wonder if you can tell me a little bit of how do you do that, because we are, of course, I think we were discussing this the other day. When we were having lunch. I think we, as artists, you're always looking for that thrill, that adrenaline rush of the collaboration and something exciting. Not necessarily about the big, like it's not really about the project, it's not really about the money, but it's really about the thrill of like engaging with other people, having an exciting time, creating something, building something together. At least I experience it that way. And then there are times where are much needed times for development and seeding, and kind of like developing things that you will blossom in the future. But those can be frustrating, and if you're not really balanced, that can lead to depression, or being feelings of inadequacy, and things that can trigger negative emotions. I wonder, how do you deal with that?
Well, I am also, I deal with it. There's several things. First of all, I feel like I've dealt with disappointment for so long. And, because something we haven't talked about is, since I've become an adult, those things that you don't get, all those references that I made were from when I was a kid. But now those things are really, really heartbreaking sometimes, and so I feel like I have developed kind of a thick skin, a callus for it. And the other thing is, and this is a really tough pill to swallow, but when you send out whatever it is, a tape, a script, a deck, whatever it is, you've sent it out, and then you kind of just need to forget about it. And you need to just put on these blinders, because it's completely, everything that you could do, you've done. So it's out of your hands now. It is in someone else's possession, and it's up to them to now make the decision. And so that's really tough. who's an actor, when you really love the gig, when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really right for this. I'm the right age. I'm, the tone of the script. Like all the elements are there that make this so exciting to me. And so those ones are really tough to let go. And
Especially
so
when you were very close, right? I
when you
think the
get, the
closer you
closer you
get,
get,
the harder it is to let go of something, right?
totally true. Totally true. And it's an exercise in patience and restraint to not just be peppering your manager
Yeah.
every day, like, oh yeah, feedback. Um, but so yeah, so that is one trick, is just to kind of, once it's out there, it's out there. The other thing that I think, I'm really, really lucky. Have a beautiful marriage and a beautiful family. I have two amazing kids. My wife works full time. She's a business owner and she's brilliant. And we work together a lot in her business. So for me, I'm spread real thin personally, like
Yes.
am a
Having a life
very,
work helps.
having a life. I guess that's it. And that's just, obviously I am extremely fortunate that I have that. A lot of people don't. And it's nobody's fault. It's just, that's what it is.
And so many times people that have been extremely successful are the ones who didn't have the opportunity to build a life.
That's
Like
exactly
those
right.
who are, I'm talking about the extreme kind of success that won't allow you to build a normal relationships. Right?
1,000%.
Not the working actor, but like maybe the celebrity or somebody who's been
Yep.
even the directors.
I also think a lot of
You've
it
seen
is,
that. You've seen that around, like in the industry, people who
have it
have
all,
that
but have it
success.
all, but are the most depressed people. Oh, absolutely. 1,000%. It's so hard to see outside your bubble, especially in an industry that you're almost forced to focus on yourself and your voice and your creative vision and it's this thing where you can get stuck thinking about yourself all the
Yeah.
time. And it's nobody, once again, it's a product of your environment. It's a product of this business. It is almost intrinsic to it, right? Like it is. So that disappointment can be so inward and so painful and so all consuming. And I think, another thing, that this is going to sound super lame, but something that I do almost every day is just kind of like look around and find things. This is so stupid. Find things to be grateful for. You know what I mean? So you find the things, even if it's as simple as like an ice cold glass of water on a hot day.
Yeah.
Or, a really comfortable pair of, this is so stupid. Really comfortable pair of shoes, or like the fact that you're healthy in that moment. Like, oh, today I don't have a sore throat. I feel physically peak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Simple little things, just to be like, life could be worse,
Oh, yeah, because hell is bottomless. But
yes.
But no, and also I think, especially for artists, we are dealing with so much frustration every day that you got to resort to these things that may sound silly for a normal person who has a 9 to 5.
Yes.
I'm not talking about people who have really big problems, but there's a big swaths of people that are, wake up, go to their jobs. There's always, like, especially nowadays, job insecurity could be lingering, right? It could be something, but it's not every day. It's not like something that every day you tie your self-worth to the things you do, put them out and get rejected for them, and then willingly put yourself through it again on Tuesday. It's very hard. And I think that those tricks are sometimes, for a cynical, intelligent person, they sound like innocent,
stupid,
but they work. And I think being grateful for the things that are working, it's so fundamental. For me, is about friends and real relationships, and trying to do something for others that fulfills me, or trying to connect with people outside of anything that, of this industry, and people that good old friends that thinks that what I do is silly and not important. I think those are very important for me.
Vitals.
Those
Yeah.
that go like, they just laugh on your face of something you've done, or
Yeah.
your own vanity. That is a lifesaver. I just laugh along with them. I'm like, yeah, you're right. This is funny. I'll keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, you
Yeah.
gotta,
Well, because
so you
it's
gotta
the
have to
drug. It's
withstand
the
it.
drug.
But
It's
I
the drug.
admit it. I understand. I'm
Yeah.
stupid. I'm like, I'm doing this thing that makes no sense, has no
Yeah.
meaning,
Yeah.
and I'm still doing it.
Still doing it anyway because we're crazy, and it is like self-flagellating a little bit. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
is like that thing, and yeah. But you and I were talking the other day, like it is so much like a drug. It is so much like when you get that hit, it's so good that you chase that forever. And you know what? The other thing is, it doesn't have to be a huge fucking Marvel movie or a network television show, or it can be as simple as an 18-person crew on the Tigre in
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That leads
was
us
such a beautiful experience, and
so for
exactly what it
context,
should be.
For
Yes.
everybody who's listening but has no real understanding of my filmography, who are not,
As
who
well
haven't
versed as I
studied
am.
me enough,
Yeah.
you should, and you still can. But if you're driving, I'm going to give you some context because I don't want people Googling me and my Wikipedia page and getting in harm's way. What Sam is referring to is Finding Sofia, which incidentally was shot at the same time as Sully, Clint Eastwood's Sully, where you already you also had a role in that movie.
Yes.
So I guess I want to open with a question: who do you love more,
Clint Eastwood? Is he
Clint
listening?
Eastwood or me? There's no question.
Is he a listener?
You're putting it out in the universe, Clint.
No. I honestly, I reference Finding Sofia all the time as like one of my favorite things I've ever done. It was the whole package, man. It was working with people who just want to make something creatively awesome with no other agenda, who all loved each other in an extremely interesting and new environment for me, and learning about a culture that I fell in love with, and then seeing the final product and being so proud of it. It was start to finish one of my favorite things I've ever done. It was
That's so sweet.
Beautiful. And it was so simple. That was the other thing. It did not have all these gigantic bells and whistles that can also be really exciting.
We couldn't afford.
It was
I wanted to have them.
it was such a every now and then you see this example of like, oh, this is like how to do independent film right. And that was, for me, a shining example. A beautiful
to me
example.
Now we're friends and I consider you family, but to me, I remember having Sam Huntington in my movie to be a very long shot. And I remember recording a video, just kind of like begging you to be in it. And you were, and then we have a Skype. This is how old
That's
we
right.
are. And then Skype, you were like, yeah, it's cool. I love the script. I want to do it. And you agreed to one of the most dangerous thing an actor can agree to, which is going to a swamp in the middle of nowhere in Argentina to shoot an independent movie for no budget, coming out of a very, very successful show. Like that is to me mind-blowing. You're coming out of the huge success of Being Human, and you commit to this independent small movie, and that to me is always going to be kind of like a testament to your character and the kind of things you do and the risks you take after all these years. Like it's so unusual to find somebody willing to do that, like a person who, like, such a successful actor that's willing to take the risk and go with a first-time filmmaker. Not only go to the first-time filmmaker, but go to their country and shoot in the middle of nowhere with no resources. And
it was awesome.
I'm so glad you said yes, but it was such an unexpected gift that you gave me.
Well, that's very, very sweet of you to say. I have a not a low opinion of myself, but a realistic opinion of myself, in that I think that I'm good at what I do. but I have no expectation about whether or not I add value to something. I think I add value because I'm enthusiastic and I'm good at my job, but whether or not I'm a big draw, I just don't know. Like, and so celebrity, I think there's scale, right? I guess what I'm saying is, thank you. I do think that most actors, if the script and the director are really great, it doesn't matter what the budget is and what the bells and whistles are and the accommodations and all that. If it's brilliant and you vibe with the people making it, that's core. That's the most important thing. And you also have to have an interest in, stretching yourself and challenging yourself and going to a place that's unfamiliar and having an open mind and being open to collaboration and all those things. But I genuinely think you're doing yourself, you're not paying yourself enough credit for being such an appealing guy and writing such an appealing, wonderful script. Because that's what it was. Like, at the end of the day, like, it was, the other thing that's great about big jobs is, so I was coming off of Being Human, I think at that point, show I did in Montreal. And so I was financially in a place where I could afford to go and spend 6 weeks away doing something that was really special to me. And so I think that that's a lot. And you know what, that is the unfortunate thing about today's world is, work is so scarce. And so I think a lot of people are like, I need to get any job. Like, I need to get any job. But but if it means that the job is going to potentially not make me not financially make it worth it to be away, I have to stay home. And making that decision is heartbreaking. You know what I mean? And by the way, you paid me for that movie. It wasn't like I didn't make any money.
Yeah, we paid you with with sweat and tears. I mean, there weren't that
blood
much
sausage and
meat.
Malbec.
We paid, compared to what you were.
No, it was
used
wonderful.
To getting. But I still remember. The truth is, I don't remember anything. It's such an interesting thing for me. Finding Sofia was such an intense experience that I vaguely remember it. Like, it's like I was in a coma and then I woke up a few times.
Yeah.
So I have images of being there.
Yeah.
But I don't have a vivid recollection. I have images. It was such an intense experience for me. It felt that, I mean, I learned so much. The movie was to me my film school, because I hadn't studied film before. I mean, I was a professional director because I did commercials before that for many years. But it was a way for me, like, I have so much pressure to perform and to make it in a way that worked. And the other thing I remember was maybe at some point not being able to cut pages. Which led us to shoot 6. I think we were like at an average of 7 pages a day, which was crazy. I remember that was like a fast thing, right? Like we were going fast.
But, I remember you being always having a good attitude, but I remember you being professional. I remember you being ready, and I remember that you always had a plan. I remember specific scenes where it was like, oh, Nico's thought a lot about how he wants to shoot this scene, and so I had a lot of confidence in you because you seem to have your shit together. You seem to know what you wanted. Even if it was your first time on a feature, it was still like you still knew what you wanted out of it. And that is so important. There's nothing worse than a director who's like, I think we could do it this way, but we could also do it this way. And,
you find that, do you even find that common? Like,
Um,
Like, is that like, because there's a line between collaboration for a director and open up yourself to others people's input, and there's I feel like there's something of the role that a director plays symbolically, which is kind of like a confident director of an orchestra that needs to know, like, people needs to perceive that even if you don't know what you're doing, you have to kind of like has to feel like you do.
I've been on a bunch, more than 5, no, more than 3 movies and shows where I have felt directionless, where I have felt um, adrift and
Hmm.
needing to figure things out in the moment, not taken care of, not being directed. And it is a really shitty feeling. And it almost universally, you watch the finished product and you're like, oh yeah, they didn't have a vision. They
A
didn't
vision for
know.
it.
Yeah, they didn't have a vision. And then there's people like you, and there's this guy, I think you and I were talking about him the other day, this guy, Francis Galuppi, who you come in, you've got your shot list, you're open to collaborating as long as it fits within your narrative, and you're driving that home, you're driving that tone, you're driving that style, you're consistent, and that is vital. And it can make an actor, it can make or break an actor's experience on set.
I feel that, I mean, in my experience, when you're not showing the actor that you're monitoring the performance and
Yeah,
you got them, and
yeah,
they can rely on you to know if the performance is good or bad, they start almost directing themselves, and that deters from being in the moment and actually performing, doing crafting a beautiful performance, because
yeah,
like they are the judges of their own performance, and they have to almost remove themselves from the moment to know, am I doing this right, I'm not, I'm hitting the beats, is this emotionally reasonable or
yes,
logical.
yeah. That's a
It
really, really
almost
great
clips
one.
their freedom.
Yeah,
At least that's how I felt in the moments when I saw directors like missing that kind of like like rapport or connection with the actor. Almost a message of saying, "Don't worry, if you don't, you're gonna, I'm gonna tell you if you're good or not. Like, you can just be yourself. Like, be wild, try crazy. Be
yeah,
free to try anything, because like I'm gonna be the judge, and I'm gonna make sure that you come across, like, you come out good out of the experience, right?"
yeah, yeah, man. And there's nothing, the only time I get frustrated, and it's really with myself on set, is when I don't feel confident in the direction of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel
Hmm.
like I'm making the correct choices in the scene, or I get, it's really easy to get in your head, and I really will lean on a director to be like, please, like, because that's another thing that's missing, I think, from the audition process right now, is obviously we talked about this, but so, getting real time direction and like honing a scene, you don't get that anymore. So it's your take, and that's something that I've always really prided myself on, was being directable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I lean on that person to help me, because it's their vision, right? At the end of the day, it's their vision. You can do what you think is right, but if it doesn't fit their vision of the story and the direction that they want to go, um, you just
Yeah, but also you're a
you feel
very
adrift.
flexible. Like, you have such a range as a performer, and I think that comes with the ability of changing direction and changing the moods and the feelings. And because I found some actors are great, they have a great delivery, but it's that one delivery, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
they
Of
can do one
course,
thing, and it may be very compelling. A lot of our celebrities that we love
they have the
always
one
pretty much
thing.
do all the same thing every time.
Yeah,
But it's like, okay, but it's Al Pacino, and like whatever he does, it's like so compelling that
absolutely.
you're down with it. But it's not going to be a range of different human experiences.
Yeah,
And I think you have the ability to express so many different things. But that is a teamwork. Like, that comes with the like with the with that director that helps with that, I guess. Unless you are directing yourself. Have you ever directed yourself?
no, no, I haven't.
That
I,
has to
I
be weird, no?
Yeah, I would look forward to the experience. I think the first thing, so I've written this thing that I'm out with right now that I'm really excited about that I will not direct. I'll be in and
Hmm.
have written. And then the next one is the one that I want to direct, which I already have 3 or 4 or 5 ideas of what that'll be. But I haven't done that, but I can imagine it would be really, really hard to not have that kind of checks and balances. You know what I
I
mean?
bet some people work with acting coaches or something, right? When they're directing
Beforehand.
themselves.
Yeah. I would think. I mean, honestly, you got to have somebody, kind of and listen, like once again, like if I've written the thing, I have a clear vision in my head of kind of what I was going for with each line. So, I just because I haven't done it yet doesn't mean that I wouldn't enjoy the process. I actually would love to
That's
do
very
it.
interesting. Yeah.
Um, but the other thing is, and this is just circling back to the last thing we were talking about, is um, I really like the other thing I really like, not just to be directed as an actor and feel like I'm doing my job, but I want to feel taken care of artistically, visually as well. I want
Hmm.
to feel like what we're shooting actually, and I don't know if I'm on an island here. I think there's probably a lot of other actors who really enjoy the process of filmmaking. And so for me, I want to know, oh, this is a fucking cool shot. This is a really neat. This guy has an eye. This is going to be, it's confidence inspiring. And I think there's
Yeah.
this kind of thing that a lot of directors have that's like gatekeeping, where it's like, I'm not going to let you watch playback. I'm not going to share this process with you. You don't need to know. Just stand where you're supposed to stand and say what you're supposed to say. And that is one way to do it. But I find that to be constraining. I feel that to be not collaborative,
Yeah.
not enjoyable. I feel like
Yeah.
the more you can kind of bring people into, as long as it's not occupying too much of your time and energy, to be like, check out how cool this is going to be. This is going to be really, really neat. This is how we're going to highlight what you're doing as an actor. And these are the beats that I want in this scene and how I'm going to find them with the camera. That's really important too. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
directors kind of forget that. They don't want to bring people in because it
I feel
opens them
like
up
there's an
for,
age-old debate about blocking, and a director can come in with a very specific idea of how they
yeah,
want the shots to look and where the people are standing, and for an actor it has to emotionally make sense, so sometimes they want to be part of it. Some directors are so extremely well known for their blocking, like Wes Anderson, that I
yeah,
bet that actors understand they will restrain their movements, and it will be emotionally will make no sense
right.
what they're doing with their body and the space, but they relinquish that control because they know, all right, this is because he wants to, we've seen his movies, they're always the same, and like it looks great in the end. I will have this romantic, very intimate conversation looking to the other way, and
Totally.
I'm gonna just accept it that my body is like away from the person who I'm talking to. It makes no sense emotionally, but I'll trust them. But then if you haven't proved that point yet, and you go to an actor and say like you're gonna be upside down, hanging from your feet, and delivering this very emotional lines, they go like, oh, I don't feel that is how I
Yeah.
would do it. Like my character wouldn't do that.
Yeah. But
That's kind of
if
like,
there's a good explanation for it, like you know what I mean? If he's like, no, because this is what I'm trying to show, you know what I mean? This is the angle I
yeah,
need because this is what I'm going to tell the story with the camera and this is how I'm going to do it. I geek out over stuff like that. I'm like, sweet, this is going to be fucking awesome because at the end of the day, what that is just an acting exercise, right?
yeah.
That's all it is. It's just you should be able to cope with that. I have no problem with that. If I feel like it's for a really cool, creative reason, fucking let's go. Those are my favorite things. That's the best. Once again, you feel taken care of. You feel like
Yeah.
it's so fun when it works. It's so fun, isn't it?
This whole conversation made me want to do another thing with you. Like, I'm committed to have some sort of collaboration with you in everything I do. So I
It's all I
will.
want to do, man. It's and then to tell you, that's the other thing is like evolved to. I mean, I just want to work with people I love. That's it.
Yes.
I
How beautiful.
just,
It's
yeah,
the funnest, is the most fun feeling. I really hope we get the opportunity to do more things,
I know we
because
will.
it's such a treat to get to work with you. So You know?
Well,
I mean, this is great. This is, at least let's just keep doing podcasts together.
I think it's so cool that you're doing this. I love you, and I love that we did this, and I love that we were able to make this work despite all my technical problems.
All right, buddy.
You're the best.
Thank you so much.
I love you,
thank you so
pal.
much for your time. I loved having you. I bet like people would really enjoy our conversation too.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, I hope so. At least you're half of it, right? And
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take it easy.